Good morning. We'll start a new chapter, Conservation of Plants and Animals, session 1. So what do you mean or what do we learn in this chapter? Conservation of plants and animals. Now what do you mean by conserve? Conserve is something to protect, to carry forward or to secure them in a particular place. Not exactly secure them, to protect them, what I can say. So how do we conserve plant and animals? What are the different ways? What happens if we don't conserve them and what is presently happening with this present scenario we'll be studying in this chapter. We'll also study about the biodiversity, that is flora and fauna, different plants and animals in the forest which are extinct animals which are at the verge of extinction. We'll be studying about them. We'll be studying about wildlife sanctuaries, what are national park, how national park is different from a sanctuary. Many such things we'll be discussing in this lesson. So let's begin with this topic, biosphere. Now what is a term called as a biosphere? The part of the earth that supports life. That means the part of the earth where living organism exists, where life exists. Of course, on planet earth life exists. But the part of the earth where this life exists, that is both plants and animals, what part is called, that is called as a biosphere. Now what is a hydrosphere? The part of a land with water. Lithosphere is land, hydrosphere is water. Now biosphere, when we talk about, it is combination of this everything where living organism exists. That includes your hydrosphere also, lithosphere also, right? All living organisms exist on biosphere. Now on this biosphere, when we talk about, there are these plants and animals. Now where do these plants and animals stay? Of course, when we talk about, not about our surroundings, we are talking about the forest. How are we destroying forest? We are cutting down the forest for our own needs and greed, right? Which is called as a deforestation. Before I come to this, there are three terms what we have to understand here. Deforestation, reforestation and afforestation. I'll discuss about all these three once I complete the deforestation part. What is deforestation? In simple definition, if I have to tell, is cutting down of trees is called as a deforestation. The process of clearing of forest in order to use the land for industrial, agricultural and other purposes. The actual definition. Deforestation is cutting of trees, right? But why are we cutting trees? Simply no. We are cutting that for our industrial purposes, for our agricultural purposes, for many other purposes. We are cutting down those trees. 1 tree, 2 tree, hundreds of trees. That means we are destroying the forest, which is called as a deforestation. What are the causes for this deforestation? Why is this happening? It is happening because of, it can also happen because of some natural causes like forest fires, the sudden fire in the forest that causes deforestation. You've heard about the Amazon forest, right? Severe droughts causes deforestation. Man-made causes deforestation. Using land for agriculture, that is what we are cutting down. Rapid urbanization. Wood for fuel and furniture. When we talk about man-made causes, that is using land for agriculture. We are using land for agriculture, we are using land for urbanization, for our growth and development. Yes, of course, in one way we are moving forward, but in other way we are actually disturbing the ecological balance here. We'll study how, but we are cutting down the forest for our own needs as well as our own greed. So these are the basic causes of deforestation. Now when we talk about consequences, what can happen if the deforestation will happen here? Increase in pollution. Now why? We first understand the consequences, then we ask why for each and everything. Why increase in pollution? Why what all this like? Increase in carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, global warming, floods, rains. Now floods and rains, when I talk about heavy rains which will cause into floods, right? You've seen this year, last year what has happened. Then decrease in rainfall. Another worst effect what we can say is total decrease in rainfall. No rainfall at all. Now if there is no rainfall, you know what will be the consequences further. Decrease in fertility of soil, natural calamities, desertification, soil erosion. So let's understand each of this point just by asking question why. Why there is an increase in pollution in the atmosphere? Together I can answer this. Along with this, even this will add up. Increase in pollution because, let me just take you to the basic again, the photosynthesis process. What is photosynthesis process? Plants intake carbon dioxide and give out oxygen, right? That is what you study. Now, what is happening if there are no plants here? Carbon dioxide which is present in the atmosphere is not absorbed. Now, children, if you remember, you have studied nitrogen cycle, right, in second chapter. Now, when we talk about a nitrogen cycle, there is abundant amount of nitrogen in the atmosphere. Only then it can come, in what form it comes to the earth, and again what form it goes back to the earth. That is proportionally balanced, right? That is why we call that as a nitrogen cycle. Similarly, you study about some more biogeochemical cycles in your standard 9, say like oxygen cycle, carbon dioxide cycle or carbon cycle. What is happening? That means your carbon dioxide content should be balanced in the atmosphere. Oxygen content should be balanced in the atmosphere. But here what is happening, due to deforestation, due to less amount of trees, there is more excess amount of carbon dioxide. Now see, there is more amount of carbon dioxide, but in the cycle when it comes back again, that excess part is always there. There is no balance in that carbon cycle happening, right? So increase in pollution because of carbon dioxide, I can say. Increase in carbon dioxide in the atmosphere leads to global warming because more and more amount of carbon dioxide, when it is trapped, it will not allow the sun ray what it enters to go back, right? You again have this detailed part in your standard 9th what you study. Here just basic in one term, let's understand why and the answer for that. Increase in carbon dioxide, lot of heat, enormous amount of heat is generated with this, which causes global warming. Now, global warming side effects, I need not tell side effects, consequences of global warming could be anything. I think one of the effect we are already seeing that the present year as well as the last year, we had a heavy rainfall. At least here we can say a heavy rainfall, but in some places it was flooding, right? Even till recent, a month ago, we had a rainfall here, which November usually doesn't rain, but that's all because of global warming. Floods, rains, decrease in rainfall, which will add up to this. Decrease in fertility of a soil. Why there is a decrease in fertility of a soil? Because, now for example, if there are no forest, if there are no trees, the land becomes barren. That causes desertification. That is, what is desertification? Barrening of a land is called as a desertification. When the land becomes barren, what will happen? There are chances of soil erosion. Best example if I have to give you is, you have an open ground or you have a garden, where in your garden you don't have any plants over there, right? Now just take a glass of water, pour it heavily, just pour that glass of water forcefully on that soil, mud or whatever it is. Do you see that the soil particles or the top layer of the soil being washed off? No, not much. But take a bucket of water and just throw it with a full force. You can see that the top layer of the soil being washed away. But in case if the trees, plants were there in your garden and if the same thing could happen, there were less chances of your top soil being washed away. Now what happens? Soil erosion. Soil erosion is something where the topmost layer of the soil is washed away, which consists of all the nutrients which is required by the soil, right? Since the topsoil is washed away, the land becomes barren and the soil becomes even infertile for the further plants if you grow also, that might not grow properly because the fertility of the soil decreases. Soil has some fertility, if you sow a plant or something, a sapling, it has to grow. A good fertility is required for the soil to grow. Good amount of nutrients is required for the plants to grow. There will be decrease in soil fertility, desertification, which leads to soil erosion. So all these answers are we get the answers when we ask why soil erosion. why desertification, why natural calamities. These all are the consequences of deforestation. In other words, I can tell that our ecological balance is imbalanced. So there is no proper balance in our ecological balance here. So only if it is balanced properly, things can go hand in hand. So increase in population leads to increase in carbon dioxide. Increase in carbon dioxide leads to global warming. Global warming leads to floods, rain, decrease in rainfall, which leads to the decrease in fertility of the soil, which causes, okay, here only I can tell natural calamities also can happen, which causes desertification, and there occurs soil erosion. So this all are, go hand in hand. So if one causes, the automatically the next goes with it. So how do we protect this, or how do we conserve this? We can conserve it by reforestation. Now what is reforestation? Planting trees. You have cut down one tree, plant 2 more trees there. So that is something called as reforestation. What is afforestation? You have an open land, start planting trees and convert that into a forest, or convert that into a place, a habitat for the animals. Deforestation is cutting down of trees. Reforestation is replanting the trees wherever you have cut down. Suppose if this land is a forest, you have cut down the trees here, replant the trees here. That is reforestation. Somewhere in one corner you have an open land. That open land you plant trees and convert that into a forest. That is afforestation. And another one thing, children. Now when we talk about conservation of plants and animals, for animals, forest is a habitat. Like we have a house, right? It's a habitat for them. So we are destroying their habitat. So what will happen to these animals? So these animals either die, wander here, then there in the search of food. So that again, multiple reasons or multiple things happen further. So all are happening one after the other only because of the consequences, only because of the causes of the deforestation. Now the next part here after deforestation, we'll understand what is biodiversity, where it is nothing but the flora and fauna of the earth, or the flora and fauna are termed as biodiversity. What do you mean by flora and fauna, and how do we conserve that? We'll study in the next part. So, what is biodiversity? The flora and fauna of a particular area is called as a biodiversity. In other words, if I can talk about the plants and animals living in a particular habitat of a particular area. Plants, animals, microorganisms, everything comes into it, right? So, the flora and fauna of a particular area, we term that as a biodiversity. Next part, what we have to understand here is species. It is a group of organisms in population which are capable of interbreeding among themselves are called as species. So when we talk in forest about flora and fauna, we talk about the species. Now we say it is an animal species, right? In animals, dog is one species because it is a group of animals, group of organisms in a population which can interbreed among themselves. It has to interbreed. Now dog's population has to increase, it has to interbreed with the dog itself, not with the fox or any other animal, right? So species are termed as group of organisms in a population which are capable of interbreeding are called as species. Same thing which again plant species, a group of similar type of plants. Endangered species. The species of a particular plant and animals which are found in a particular area. Now we also call as an endemic disease also, not pandemic disease. The pandemic is something which is presently happening. Pandemic is different from endemic. Endemic is something when we talk about a particular area. Now when we talk about, for example, goiter, which is caused due to deficiency of iodine in human body, it is usually seen in the people in the coastal area, what we see. So it is not that, it can be found here also, everywhere, but it is an endemic disease. So that disease is commonly found in a particular area. So similarly, now leave that about, that was just an example which I had to give to make you understand. Similarly now, those species of plants and animals which are found in a particular area are called as a endemic species. Now they are not only in this particular region you found those species in large, we term them as a endemic species. Next, when we talk about flora and fauna, that is about our biodiversity, how we have to conserve our flora and fauna so that they do not extinct or they are not in the verge of extinction. So there are several methods, or we can say several special protection or protected areas where we can conserve our flora and fauna. As I have told, flora is for plant and fauna we term it for animals. So we have biosphere reserve, national park, wildlife sanctuary and tiger reserve. Now we just understand first in brief about biosphere reserve, national park, wildlife sanctuary and tiger reserve. Then we go in detail about it. So what is a biosphere reserve? So biosphere reserve is a type where it allows us for research and education. That means you can enter into a biosphere reserve for your research and education, right? But again, in all these protected areas and all these conservation points, hunting and poaching is not allowed. Now, when we talk about conservation, we are protecting them. So, how can we allow all these things to happen? National park, it's a restricted area. No human activity is allowed. That means you can't go and tell that I have to do some research on these animals and whatever it is not allowed. Best known as in Karnataka, what we have is Bannerghatta National Park. Wildlife sanctuary, conservation of natural or conservation of these flora and fauna in their natural habitat only. Like for example, I can tell that I have adopted this forest. So it's a big forest. I have adopted the forest in the sense now I have to take care of the forest. Animals will stay in their own habitat, but it comes under me. The whole and sole responsibility of looking after that reserved protected area is under me. That is something called as a wildlife sanctuary. See, it is not called adopted, but I give you an example to make you understand. So in wildlife sanctuary, conservation of their natural habitat only. See, even in national park, if you have seen, you go for a safari, right? They are present in a limited area, but that's not a forest, children. Though they stay in the natural habitat, their area is very limited, right? So after so and certain part, there is a next. They are still under a cage there, if you have seen. Now, national parks, when you visit, there are many cages where a lion cannot escape from that particular area and go into another area. In wildlife sanctuary, when I talk about, it is the forest only, a natural habitat of the animals only. But it is taken care by somebody and it has been protected in such a way that no human activities are allowed there. Because, for example, if it is my garden, how will I allow some unknown people to enter in my garden? It's like that. Tiger Reserve. Now, Tiger Reserve was launched by government in order to conserve tiger, because now tigers are at the verge of extinction. So we have to save tiger for our future generation to look to see. So Tiger Reserve was formed only in the process of conserving the tiger or conservation of a tiger so that we can protect it from being an endangered animal. Now let's understand about these in detail. Let's also understand the different flora and fauna found over here. So let's understand about these things in detail now. Biosphere Reserve. So it is an area which aims to conserve the biodiversity of an area as well as its culture. So what we talk about here is it also allows for research and research development and also for education. That means people can enter into it, do some research or anything that is allowed here. The one most major, like one of the important biosphere what we talk about here is Panchmari Biosphere Reserve. Under Panchmari Biosphere Reserve, it takes care of a national park and 2 wildlife sanctuaries. Not that there are many other wildlife sanctuaries, but under them, Panchmari Biosphere Reserve takes care of these 2. These 3 national park and 2 wildlife sanctuaries comes under Panchmari Biosphere Reserve. The national parks such as Satpura National Park and 2 wildlife sanctuaries, the Bori and the Panchmari Wildlife Sanctuary. This will come under Panchmari Biosphere Reserve. Now let's understand what are the different flora and fauna of these biosphere reserve. Flora is the plant found and fauna is the animals found. I have just written one or two children. Remaining examples you can see into the book. So it is sal, types of trees, arjun, mango, jamun, etc. Animals, when we talk about barking deer, cheetal, etc. Now endemic species. Endemic species, when I say that, these are particular type of species found in a particular area only, right? Which are those? In plants, when I talk about it is sal and wild mango. In animals, when I talk about it is bison and flying squirrel. In the notes, children, instead of flying squirrel, the picture is of a flying squirrel, but the word written for that is wild mango. You can strike that out and just change that. Next is a national park. A national park are the large forest reserve that attempt to preserve the entire ecosystem within an area. Now that means it is an ecosystem or it is a forest type only, not a forest type. The area is bounded. There are boundaries for the area. Now when we talk about forest, children, there are no boundaries, right? But in national park, there are boundaries. That is what, when you enter a national park, there are cages, right? Like animals cannot harm on you. I mean, you cannot harm the animals, nor animals cannot harm you, because you are protected into something, and animals are also moving about, but still they have limitations in their motility. What I can say in the movement. So, example, Satpura National Park, Badherghatta National Park. There are several other national parks which are given in the book. You can just go through them. We are not discussing about the flora and fauna found here. Of course, yes, there are different types of plants or different types of tea, some carvings which are all found. You can just read that as a detail given in the book. Next, we have wildlife sanctuaries. As I have told you, wildlife sanctuaries is example of a forest. If I take care about, I adopt that forest. That means the species living into the forest, both plants and animals, are taken care by giving some suitable condition. So, wildlife sanctuaries are the reserved forest where wild animals are protected with suitable condition. Now that means here they are protected with suitable condition. That means, are you allowed here? Yes, you are allowed inside. You are allowed to cut the firewood for your daily needs, livestock, grazing animals. All these are allowed. But in any of this, hunting, killing animals, poaching is not allowed. That comes under the punishable act of the wildlife sanctuaries. Now, different flora and fauna what found here. Different fauna which are found here is golden cat, pink-headed duck, black buck, etc. So these are all animals which are almost at the verge of extinction. So these are protected in wildlife sanctuaries, but people still encroach or people still try to kill these animals for their pleasure or something which is actually under punishable act. So next is the tiger reserve. I have not written here. So tiger reserve was launched by government in order to save tiger. So there are many what you can say plans or things held in order to save the tiger, because that is at the verge of extinction. Now similarly like this, now tiger will come under the endangered species, or it is not still it doesn't come under the extinct animal or extinct species. An endangered species, what I can say is, an endangered species are the type of species which are at the verge of extinction. There are some already animals which are extinct. For example, dinosaurs, we haven't seen them. Then dodo, or if you remember the movie called Ice Age, there's an elephant, right, which has a big tusk. So that comes under the extinct species. Let's discuss more about these endangered species and extinct species. So the last part now, we'll understand about vulnerable species, endangered species and critically endangered species and extinct species. Now what do you mean by vulnerable species? Which are about to become endangered. They are at the extent of becoming endangered. Example, giant panda, polar bear. Endangered species, they are at the high risk of extinction. bonobo and blue whale. Now bonobo, when we talk about, it almost look like a chimpanzee, what you can consider. Critically endangered species. These are also at the high risk of extinction. Now for example, if this is 80% risk, this could be 90%. Just an example, children, not exactly the percentage, but because I have written this also high risk and this also high risk. If this is 80% high risk, this could be 90% high risk. Example, hawksbill and orangutan. Now hawksbill looks like a tortoise and orangutan is again which looks like a chimpanzee. You can just type this word in the Google and look at those pictures. You'll have an idea. Extinct species which no longer exist. Dinosaurs, dodo, woolly mammoth, which I was talking about in the Ice Age movie. We have elephants, right, with a long tusk. So that is woolly mammoth. So those are all extinct species. Now who keeps the record of this? Which animals are vulnerable, which are endangered, critically endangered, or they are extinct animals? So there's a book maintained by a certain organization which is called as a Red Data Book. This Red Data Book keeps the record of all these flora and fauna. Now here we have written only the fauna part. So it keeps the record of all the plants and animals which are about to extinct or which are already or which are about at the verge of extinction or they are already extinct. That is, IUCN, International Union for Conservation of Nature, maintains a record for all endangered plants and animals in a world called Red Data Book. So they have this record which they probably might share among themselves, and we come to know what is the facts and figures about this. The last part of the lesson, children, it's about migration. Now what is migration? Simple terms I can tell, moving from one place to another. Now why will somebody move from one place to another? Generally in the search of food, habitat, right? So migration is termed as a movement of birds, animals or humans over a long distance to live in a new location permanently or temporarily. So it could be for the change of habitat or change of the climatic conditions which they could not exist over there, so they are moving it, or it could be in the search of food and shelter. So these will migrate from one place to another. The last part of the lesson is about recycling of paper and reforestation. Reforestation we have already understood in the beginning part only. Addition to that, I have also explained afforestation. So recycling of paper, you very well know. I need not tell you anything about this. One main thing I can give an advice telling that we can avoid wasting the papers, right? So it goes here like this. 1 ton of paper is made from about 17 fully grown trees. Paper should be recycled and reused to conserve forests. Each paper can be recycled 7 to 3 times. Recycling of papers save trees, energy and water. It prevents releasing the harmful chemicals emitted during the paper manufacturing. Of course, yes. So when we manufacture paper or let that be any manufacturing, there are so many harmful chemicals which are released. We can actually avoid them. So avoid them in the sense, it's not like when you're writing your answer sheet, just write one after the other without proper gap because teacher has told to save paper. It's not like that. Use it judiciously. So children, with this we complete the chapter Conservation of Plants and Animals. It is rather a chapter where we can discuss it. There is no concept here what you have to understand in this chapter. It is as like you are studying or you are just reading some research or about the facts and figures about these animals and plants and few points about the forest and its conservation. A very simple chapter. Please go through once again the notes clearly what I have given because there are many points, many examples what I have mentioned in that.